So, the next question is, should we be able to change kata, or is kata set in stone? Thoughts?
So, yeah, performance-wise, I think we could leave it alone. I think when you apply it, that's when you need to adapt it to the person applying the kata, I think. So, because it was a good question that came up in our private group, the Bunkai Bastards. If you're not a member, you should fucking be, because it's only £2 a month and you get good questions like this and great discussion.
It's less than £3, mate.
Yeah. So, yeah, the question came up about, I think, changing like the hikite hand coming back to the hip, or can I bring it back to the jaw level to protect my face? So obviously in a kata, I think the hand pulling back to the body or pulling back to the hip is for a purpose. It's, you're controlling limbs. So if you're changing it to cover your jawline, it's different. You're changing the kata completely, I think.
Yeah, well, you see, this is where I keep banging off this same old discussion, is about kata or the kata. This is the thing. There's this notion that there is the kata of karate, particularly if you look at Shotokan, because that's where my base is. There were 27 kata, then there were 26, then there were 25. Originally there were 15. Whatever number that you settle on, there is a way of performing those kata. The thing I struggle with is people saying then that, oh, well, the kata should change to fit your application. Why? If your applications do not fit that kata, then why do you need to torture either the kata or the application so that it fits under that label? Why are you not doing your own kata with your own applications in it and call it something else?
Isn't that another thing though? People are very scared of making up their own kata, because it's almost like only
they're all made up.
2%
there aren't any kata that weren't made up by somebody.
Well, yeah, and I mean also changing kata though. Why not change kata? Every other fucking bastards has done it.
Up to a point, and then they became cast in concrete until such time as there's a new book to be sold with the new standardized versions of the kata.
I mean, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You need a good reason if you're going to change kata, or you need a reason if you're going to change kata. It doesn't have to be a good reason, because that's why a lot of kata got changed for no good reason whatsoever, because it looked better. It was a reason at the time.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, I don't know. We always used to do, you can't, I can see my arms again blurry. We used to do it with the hands like that at the start of knee down sort of thing, and then someone moved it up there.
That's completely, yeah. What is that? Is that Haiwanuki or something like that? Yeah.
Hawaiian pizza uki.
So for anybody listening to the podcast who can't see your hands.
Oh yeah, sorry everybody who can't see us.
People watching the video couldn't see your fucking hands either, to be fair. So.
Okay, I don't care. Basically, a change of a position of hand by 2 to 3 inches wide.
Something like that, I don't think makes a massive difference, does it? But the question that we got to the group was changing the chambering, the hand coming back to the hip or coming back to the jaw. So that was a massive change, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
well,
then in that case,
around the fact that the kata is teaching you bad habits combatively.
Yeah.
But it's only teaching bad habits combatively because you're saying, well, this part of the kata actually means this, so you've got to change it to that. Because my bunkai is different to the kata. Well, it's not bunkai then, is it? That's the point, is that if it's not a direct application of your analysis of that part of the kata, then it's a different thing. It's not bunkai. You're not changing kata to fit bunkai. And I think I'm going to mention names because he's making a name for himself anyway. It was Kieran who came up with the whole, well, your kata should fit your bunkai. That's complete arse gravy. It makes no sense whatsoever. You know,
you know a lot about that.
If your
kata,
your kata is completely changed to fit your bunkai, then it's not bunkai. This is my application, this is my set of applications together, and I have a new kata that reflects these, and it's my kata. You cannot say, oh, well, I'm changing the kata now to fit my analysis of that kata. No. How does that work? It
depends how loosely you use the term bunkai, though, doesn't it? Because if you're saying So because a lot of people say they're applications. So if my applications are fighting at X, then my kata must fit it. So
yeah,
depends how much you want to bastardize the word, which I do all the time anyway. In fact, I bastardize all the Japanese words terribly.
Yeah, and we all do. To be fair, all of us who try and talk with authority on it are just making shit up. You know, we're not Japanese by nature. We're not Japanese by culture. We don't have the in-depth understanding of it.
I don't even like sushi.
Yeah, to be honest, it's not great, but it's a good excuse for eating soy sauce and vinegar and chili, and I quite like those three things in combination.
So, really, I suppose if there's a style of fighting that you favour, like you said, you should perhaps make your own kata, rather than make the kata fit your style.
For my way of thinking, I'm not going to use the style over substance thing, but there is a level of marketing involved in the kata, in teaching people to understand the kata. So it's become a thing that unless what you do can be traced back and comes from a kata, then it's not real. It doesn't exist in the practical karate world. So what is happening is people are adapting and modifying kata to fit what they would do. Well, it's not the kata then, is it? If you're adapting and modifying to fit your fighting style and what you would do, then there should be a kata that reflects that, which is your kata with your understanding and your presentation and your naming. You shouldn't have to reverse engineer it and backtrack it and modify everything so you can loosely call it by this name of something else that everybody already accepts.
So this is okay for experienced practitioners with years under the belts then, isn't it? So beginners need something, don't they? Beginners need something.
But why
but then,
beginners then are you teaching them
they don't really
kata that doesn't reflect your training?
Yeah, I say they don't really need a kata, do they? To be honest, if they want to learn to fight, we've said this before.
Now, if they want to learn the art as it's laid down in whatever structure you've got, and saying, okay, this is the performance level and this is what we do with it, then that's fine. But why then, when you're doing something different, does it have to be shoehorned into that form? It makes no sense.
Generally, that just happens though. So, well, as we said, you can hang it on a peg somewhere and go, this is what it is, to try and give it some validation, basically. Because you're saying it is this thing. It's not just some shit I made up off the street. It actually fits here.
Yeah. But where's the validation of the original kata come from then?
I know, but that's just an accepted wisdom, isn't it, around karate circles, basically.
Yeah. Because if something
then is also transferable when you go from club to club. That people go, oh, right, okay, he's not the only bloke teaching it. But I mean, I don't disagree with you at all. But that is the thing. I think that is why it's done.
Yeah, well, there's a different thing about standardizing the kata and the performance of kata and doing them in a certain way, and demonstrating physical principles through kata, because there's a lot of stuff in there that you can do, and we'll come on to principles another time, but they are in there. It's part of the root of kata and a lot of what it teaches you. And I hate using that term because it's not what it teaches you. It allows you to practice something that is an example of that principle in a recognized and transferable form. You can do a kata 1,000 times and never understand the principles involved. What you need to do is understand the principles, be able to do the kata, and be able to see the interrelationship between the two. I've seen so many people who've done kata for years and years and years, but still don't really understand the kata principle of what they're doing in there. It's just the movement that they're doing. And if you can turn the light on for them, that's great. But yeah, it's like walking, you know. Well, I put one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. I do that, and I understand walking fine. Okay, explain to me the principles of walking. Tell me how it works, and see how many people can break down walking into its component parts and explain to you how you do it.
Which does come back to Brian's point, though. You don't need it to be able to walk. You don't need to know, because you just can, which is the same as somebody can just fight and they don't need a kata to fight.
No, but it's a handy, useful thing. But this is
I agree.
If you're learning fighting skills and you're saying, okay, I have this set of drills and I want to put these things in together, and the form is sort of like this kata purely because I've arbitrarily made it be like this, but I've changed this bit, this bit, this bit, and this bit. Why? Why have you put it on the form of that kata then? What is the relationship between that and the form of the kata? Because all you've done is break the kata, really. If the kata was there that gives you these physical principles and combative principles, but you've changed it here, 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 and here to be something different, then it's not teaching your combative side, and it's not teaching the principles that it was originally designed for, because you've mashed these two things together. So what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why not?
Well, that's assuming that you're teaching how the kata was originally shown, which we generally don't anyway.
No.
So that's another rabbit hole we can go down. I mean, basically, take the Heian kata. They did not look like they look in Shotokan at all. Side. So,
I wonder now, just thinking out loud, how far off we can be with our applications now. You know, because fighting's fighting, isn't it? At the end of the day. So, you know, and some pretty good people with sort of combative minds have now looked at it and thought, okay, this is probably telling us this, and it makes a lot more sense. So yeah, I wonder how far off the original intent we are now.
Well, again, I think it comes down to how you approach things and how you fight. There are some certain things that you think should be, if not universal constants, there should be a lot of coincidence between them, because there are things that work and things that don't work.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But what I see then is people, as I say, taking that kata and making it something else because, well, we don't fight that way. It's teaching you bad habits. It's teaching you this. It's teaching you that. And that's not what we should do. So we should change it. Well, that means that you're not understanding what you're teaching in that kata. What you're saying is, my understanding of fighting is limited to this. So why are you shoehorning it onto that kata? It's not telling you that the kata is wrong or it needs to be adapted for doing this. It means what you're doing isn't related to that kata.
Yeah.
And if you think, well, the kata is teaching you bad habits, it's not. It's because you don't understand what the kata is teaching you in that particular place. So, you know,
the issue you've got, and the reason it happens a lot, is because people have come up through the grades, they've learned the kata, they're teaching people, and they're learning this stuff bit by bit. And so therefore, they can't make the jumps, just go, right, this is my kata, and I'm teaching like this, because they're not at that level. And they're just trying to fit something somewhere in their syllabus that's ever changing, or should be changing until they get where they want to be.
And you've got the same katas in different styles, haven't you? So you only have to look at the hyans and the pinans. They're essentially the same form, aren't they? But like the shutos and the pinans are the low sort of knife hand things, whereas Shotokan is they're a bit further up. So you know you got the same kata with different moves. Are they doing the same shit?
Well, I suspect not, because each of the arts or each of the styles of the art have a different emphasis and focus, it seems to me. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult coming from a Shotokan background, because a long time ago it came very much more about personal improvement and physical conditioning and an exercise routine rather than a combative art. So we're trying to retrofit combative skills onto something that hasn't been designed for that for the last 100 years.
So we're not going to admit on camera that the Wado version might be slightly better then.
We're not.
No, we won't fucking do that. No, never.
Basically, Shotokan of fucked it. But then Wado, some of theirs bullshit as well. So it's all bullshit is the bottom line, I think.
So can we change it then, Andy?
Can we change kata? I mean, I think. Well, I mean, you know, yes, no.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say, for me, the answer is no. If there is a kata that is a defined thing, no, that's the kata.
Although,
if you want to do something different, then do something different. But
who is defining that kata? At what point are you taking that kata as being defined? So let's take Yan Yondan, for example.
Yep.
Let's take that one specific move in Yan Yondan that all people of our age hate is that jump. So originally it was a small jump, I believe.
Godan.
Bigger.
Godan.
Godan. What did I say?
Yondan.
There you go. People of our age who have got fucking senile dementia. So basically, it used to be a small jump, and it got into a bigger and bigger jump. Who defined it and when? That's the question. So I could say, I mean, when I do it, I quite like the youngsters to try and get a higher jump. I won't do a high jump because my knees say no, fuck you, and I'm not doing it. And they're both agreed about that. Both knees agree at the same time that it's a no for me. So
yeah, again, it's what I find with things like the jump, and you see the jumps in kata, is that then, although they developed over time and weren't part of the original kata, people who are doing, and we do the bunny ears thing for the podcast, bunkai, find reasons to justify the jump and what it means and what it's code for, despite the fact that it never existed and it was put in purely for athletic purposes. And this is the trouble with the movements, is that Mary did an interesting thing the other day. She did a bunkai video for the Macarena. You can make martial movements and find justifiable reasons for virtually any physical combination of movements you like, be it in kata or not. Exactly, the very thing. I've got a fly in here, I should be doing kata myself fairly soon. So it's relatively meaningless, without the source material. And what I've seen historically is, again, we talk about kata as being the kata, but then you talk about, or the old versions of the kata, there was sensei so-and-so's version of this kata, another sensei's version. There were 4 or 5 different versions depending upon which lineage you're in and which version. Now, do each of those guys have a different set of applications for that kata? Do they have any applications for that kata? Or do these famous guys all have different versions of the kata because, well, I learned it this way, but when I got back to here and I was teaching it because I didn't have core knowledge, I misremembered that bit and changed that. And because it's different when somebody sees that to that, that's my version of the kata, and so on. But why is it mystical? Because those guys have done it, but anybody who changes it now and puts their name on it is...
We've got the classics, haven't you, like Goju Shiho and the renaming of that, and the knee lifts or side kicks in Nijuchiho, all those sort of things that have been changed because someone wanted to do them or couldn't do something or fucked up the name on the day.
Well, even simple stuff, going back to Yondan again, as you were saying, here in Yondan for Shotokan. Funakoshi didn't do the side snap kick, he did a front kick. A low front kick. And now it's suddenly a head height side kick with an Iraken rather than a Chioki. It's changed within the same style within that period of time. It's not a traditional kata. Somebody changed it, then somebody put a stake in the sand and said, okay, we are the governing organization. We are the arbiters of what it should be. This is what it is. And suddenly everybody doing it is thinking, oh, well, we can't change that because that's what it is. Because some bloke on a certain day said, this is what it is. It's meaningless.
Interestingly, actually, did you just mention that technique in Shotokan? It'd be the Kyagi and Iraken. Obviously, with a partner, I always favour doing a front kick because from where you are in relation to your partner, I find the Kyagi a bit useless. and I've actually occasionally now, when I'm doing the performance of the kata, I've thrown the front kick in. That actually feels quite nice. Will I change it? Will I teach my students that actually now we're going to do a front kick because this is the way I like doing it, and it's more functional from my point of view. There's an interesting thought for myself.
That's the thing, though. Because then, if you do that and you say your base is Shotokan, they go to another Shotokan club and go, that's wrong.
Yeah.
So do you just leave it because it's easier?
But then you point to Funakoshi's original source work and say, no, I'm just teaching the older version of it. And here's my validation because...
But you literally do that with throwing in karate all the time. People go, look at Karate Koihan. He's throwing people. And they just go, no, don't want to know.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Which is why I don't understand the anal retention on, no, it has to be this way. And you can't change it, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. So it sounds like I'm arguing the other side of The
It
coin.
does sound like you're arguing it. We can just leave you to it, Bob. You
Yeah.
Brian will fuck off. You just carry on, mate.
But again, it's that, well, do I change it to, well, you can change it to whatever you like, but why keep calling it that? Yeah, that's the only thing that I have an issue with, is do what you want, make a kata out of whatever you want. If you want to take a kata as a base and change all the techniques in it, then do so. You're perfectly at liberty to do that, but just don't call it this. Now, I've either sent him to sleep or he's frozen.
I'm back.
Hurrah.
Well, I'd say
I think.
Go on.
So I was just going to say. So
Not a very short that one.
I was going to say that's what I was going to say.
I was going to
That's
say
short.
you come back to it though, and you go the Heian katas and the Pinan katas in Wado and Shotokan nowadays are different.
Yeah.
However, they are literally the same thing. Because Funakoshi did them, and he called them both names. So which one's which? What the fuck does it matter? Everyone's a bastard.
And on that note, we should leave it there.
Yeah. That fly is back again.